from a Confederate general marching north looking for shoes, to a college professor turned soldier ordering a suicidal bayonet charge, to 12,500 men walking straight into cannon fire across an open field, like it was a Sunday stroll. This is the Battle of Gettysburg, the bloodiest 3 days in American history, and the single turning point that decided whether the United States would survive as one nation at all. But let's rewind, because Gettysburg didn't start as some brilliant master plan. It started as a complete accident. By the summer of 1863, the Civil War had been raging for 2 brutal years, and the Confederacy was in serious trouble. Their economy was collapsing under a Union naval blockade. European powers weren't stepping in to help, and morale back home was cracking. So General Robert E. Lee, fresh off a huge victory at Chancellorsville just weeks earlier, decided it was time to gamble everything, invade the North. His thinking was simple: feed his army off rich Pennsylvania farmland instead of stripping the already starving South bare. Terrify northern cities enough to shake their will to keep fighting. And maybe, just maybe, force President Lincoln to the negotiating table before the North's massive manpower and industry crushed the Confederacy for good.
Sir, that's a bold strategy.
So Lee marched roughly 75,000 men north into Pennsylvania, further than any Confederate army had ever gone. And chasing him was the Union's Army of the Potomac, nearly 95,000 strong, but with a brand new commander. General George Meade had literally been handed command only 3 days earlier, woken up in the middle of the night and told,
"Congratulations!
You're in charge now." 3 days, didn't even have time to unpack his bags before commanding the largest battle in American history. And here's the wild part. Neither army actually planned to fight at Gettysburg. It wasn't strategic. It wasn't chosen. A Confederate division just went looking for a shoe warehouse rumored to be sitting in the little town, because half of Lee's army was marching barefoot. Instead, they ran straight into Union cavalry posted just outside town.
Sir? I don't think those are shoes.
That's genuinely how the bloodiest battle in American history kicked off. Over shoes. On July 1st, 1863, fighting exploded north and west of town. Union cavalry under General John Buford, badly outnumbered, bought crucial time, holding the high ground on sheer stubbornness until Union infantry reinforcements came running in. For hours, it looked like it might actually hold, but by afternoon, fresh Confederate divisions arrived and simply overwhelmed the Union lines through raw numbers. Retreating Federal troops fell back in chaos through the streets of Gettysburg to a hill south of town called Cemetery Hill, and that hill, plus the ridge running south of it, would decide the entire battle, because whoever held the high ground held Gettysburg. Period. Day 2, July 2nd. Lee ordered brutal attacks on both ends of the Union line, hoping to cave in one flank before the other could reinforce it. And on the Union's left flank sat a small, rocky, forgettable hill that almost nobody had bothered to defend. Little Round Top. If Confederates took it and got artillery up there, they could fire straight down the entire Union position and roll it up end to end. Defending that hill, at the very last man on the entire Union line, was a college professor from Maine named Joshua Chamberlain, who had zero formal military training before the war. Sound familiar? Chamberlain's 20th Maine Regiment held the far end of the line, and Confederate troops from Alabama charged uphill at them, again and again, wave after wave, crashing into exhausted defenders. And after repelling assault, Chamberlain's men checked their cartridge boxes and found the worst possible news: empty, no bullets left, and the enemy was already regrouping for one more charge that would break them wide open. So Chamberlain made a call that, on paper, shouldn't have worked at all. Fix bayonets, charge downhill, straight into the enemy. And somehow, it worked. the stunned Confederates, expecting return fire, and instead getting cold steel charging down at them, broke and fled. Little Round Top held. A college professor with 0 bullets left had just single-handedly saved the entire Union flank with a bayonet charge. What a legend. But even with that heroics, Day 2 ended in a bloody stalemate. Both sides battered, exhausted, and neither willing to quit. So Lee decided he had one more card left to play. And it would be the biggest gamble of the entire war. Day 3, July 3rd, 1863. Lee looked at the map and decided the Union Center, worn down after 2 days of brutal flank attacks, must finally be soft. So he ordered the single most famous and most catastrophic infantry assault of the entire Civil War. Nearly 12,500 Confederate soldiers assembled in the tree line, ready to march across 3/4 of a mile of completely open field. No cover, no terrain, just flat pasture. Their target, a small, unremarkable clump of trees on Cemetery Ridge, nearly a mile away. Leading the assault, General George Pickett, whose name would attach itself to this charge forever, whether he liked it or not. It started with the largest artillery bombardment of the entire war. Over 150 Confederate cannons opened fire at once, trying to smash the Union guns to pieces before the infantry stepped off. The noise was so massive, it was reportedly heard over 100 miles away. The ground itself shook for miles around. But when the smoke finally cleared, Union artillery was mostly untouched, repositioned, reloaded, and calmly waiting.
Advance!
Then the order came down the line. Advance. 12,500 men stepped out of the tree line in picture-perfect formation, battle flags snapping in the wind, drums beating time, marching calmly across open ground directly toward Union guns, like it was a peacetime parade. Sir, this is insane. Union cannons switched over to canister shot, essentially giant shotgun blasts packed with iron balls, tearing gaping holes straight through the Confederate ranks. Then, as the range closed, Union infantry opened up with rolling rifle volleys. Men dropped by the hundreds with every step. And still, unbelievably, the survivors kept walking forward. A small group, maybe 150 men, actually broke clean through at a low stone wall near a bend in the line. A spot that would go down in history as the high water mark of the Confederacy. For one brief, desperate, chaotic moment, Confederate soldiers were standing inside the Union line, bayonets and pistols out, hand to hand. And then Union reserves slammed into them from 3 sides and crushed the breakthrough completely. Within about an hour, more than half of the men who marched out in Pickett's charge were dead, wounded, or captured. Lee rode out personally to meet the survivors staggering back across the field and reportedly told them, over and over, "This is all my fault."
It's my fault this time.
A rare, raw moment of a general publicly owning total defeat right there in front of his broken army. The next day, July 4th, 1863, Lee quietly began retreating south. He would never invade the North again for the rest of the war. Over those 3 days, Gettysburg produced roughly 51,000 casualties, combined between both armies. The single bloodiest battle ever fought on American soil, before or since. Entire farms, orchards, and wheat fields around the little town were turned into open graveyards almost overnight. 4 months later, President Lincoln traveled to Gettysburg to help dedicate a new national cemetery for the fallen soldiers buried there. And here's the thing, he wasn't even the main speaker that day. A famous orator named Edward Everett spoke first, for a full 2 hours, hitting every rhetorical trick in the book. Then Lincoln stood up and spoke for barely 2 minutes. But in those 2 minutes, standing on a field still soaked in the blood of 51,000 men, he quietly redefined what the entire war was actually for, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. 10 sentences, 2 minutes. Almost no one at the time thought it would be remembered. Today, it's arguably the most quoted speech in American history. Gettysburg didn't just stop a Confederate invasion cold in its tracks. It marked the exact moment the tide of the entire Civil War turned for good, paired almost to the day with a massive Union victory at Vicksburg out west. From this point forward, the South was on the defensive for the rest of the war, and momentum never really swung back the other way again. So man, I still get chills thinking about that hill, and that cornfield, and every single man who stood on it. God bless every soldier who fought there, on both sides of that line. And here's a detail that still gets me. Among the officers who survived that field, on both sides, were men who'd fought side by side just 15 years earlier in Mexico. Old classmates, old comrades, now standing across a cornfield, trying to kill each other for the future of their country. But Gettysburg was only the turning point, not the ending. 'Cause this is the American Civil War, explained. From the bloodiest day in American history, to the emotional surrender of a Confederate general, to the president saving America from the brink of collapse, and then getting assassinated 5 days later. Click this video right here, 'cause it gets even crazier.